it is probably the biggest problem solving hub. So what you do all day long is taking problems and solving them in a fast, efficient way to ultimately get to the end goal, whatever that is. Was it resident satisfaction? It's just communication to make sure that people understand.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Corey Bohner, is the founder of Maxx Property Management, which manages over 3,200 doors and 1 billion plus in assets across Utah, Idaho, Arizona, and beyond. Corey, welcome to the show.
Oh, Dylan, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's great to meet you as well. And when we talk about the property management space, and I was mentioning this to you before hopping on here, it's a difficult space because you're dealing with, tenants and toilets is the old adage, but it's also in very many cases driven by how well you're managing sometimes tricky situations, right? And so I want to talk today really about what makes a successful property management company. And I'd like to start that by asking you how you got started in the property management space.
Yeah. Well, it's a great intro here. So I'll give you a little bit of my background, where it started. And property management, it never actually is something that typically people like, hey, I'm going to go become into property management. A lot of times it finds you. And no matter any operator that I've ever spoken to and been with, it found me as well. So early in, I think it was over 10 years ago, I was working with a management group and team. And I started at the bottom of maintenance, right? What are the biggest issues that we have in property management? Well, it's things break. So I started in the division under a property management group. And, I needed a job. I moved to Utah out of Nevada. I was a firefighter medic before. And I was like, I just need to get to Utah. And so traveled here, found a group, started at the bottom, and found all the inefficiencies with running a property management company. So, but I was able to take a maintenance division and make it more efficient and more operable. So we were able to operate it, make it more efficient, and get more action out of it. From there, happened to find investment groups that were using this property management company, and they hired me as their more marketing side and helped build their brokerage. And then from there, it stemmed into a development group and team where they were building investment properties for investors. Fourplexes, duplexes, triplexes, build to rent product. And so that's where it really started to begin, is partnering with the development group and building good product type that had a good return of, you own your own assets of fourplexes in communities. And so we started to manage in communities. We needed to manage these things. The management group that we sent it to was not great. And so we needed to build a company. I was like, all right, I'm gonna shoot for it. So spent, a good 3 years developing, educating, going to anything I could to educate my, self on property management, because I didn't know a lot. I knew a little bit. Obviously, I was in a property management company before, but There are so many aspects. If you can run a management company,
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
you can do anything else. You can
It's
start.
not an easy business.
No, everything kind of runs down. I mean, you're the center of a lot of people, and you think about you've got your owner and your investor, you've got your resident on this side, you've got vendors, maintenance, you've got all these communication pieces, and it all needs to flow through and get to the right end goal. And
When
so yeah, go ahead.
when we talk about the this idea, it's almost like you're a human shield as a frontline worker. You talk about being like a first responder, right? I feel like property management is almost like the first responders of real estate, because whatever complaint, whatever issue, whatever, utilities down, or, people feel like they're getting charged too much, or, hey, someone's missing payments here, whatever it is. I lived in a community in San Antonio, apartment complex, and one of the frequent issues would be like the gate isn't working. So then you're dealing with, well, okay, now we have like a structural issue on the site. And are we going to get this fixed? Are the investors going to pay for this? It's a lot of spinning plates in the air.
It is probably the biggest problem solving hub. So what you do all day long is taking problems and solving them in a fast, efficient way to ultimately get to the end goal, whatever that is. Was it resident satisfaction? It's just communication to make sure that people understand. And a lot of it still comes back to, how do you educate those that don't understand? There's a lot of people that don't know these days on how to live inside of these units. I mean, they may be first time renters, right? And they don't know. Even our investors sometimes can be first time investors. They don't understand that, hey, things cost money, and you got to explain. And that's what we try to do. We try to educate and explain, not only to the investor, to the resident, people that we have. The more we can educate and understand the systems and why we do what we do, the better the outcome. So when we educate, we explain our process, we understand, and people understand this cycle from leasing to marketing all the way through until you move out at the end of the day, making sure that people understand the cycle and understand, and you're educating them, the better they can live in their property. They're satisfied for the response that they get, because guess what? It was in the lease. It was my understanding. I actually should have read the rules, And so the more we can educate, the more we can provide that to people. And at the end of the day, we are dealing in property management, wherever it is. You're dealing with someone livelihood. The majority of their life is centered around their housing. And so if you think about it, maybe someone is coming to you upset and frustrated. Well, did they lose someone that day? Did they get pulled over? You got to think about it as that you're dealing with everyone's daily lives in a cycle. And so it's trying to understand where people are at, educating where they're at, and being, having some empathy, but then ultimately explaining to them, no matter the results of, okay, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and explaining it through the process. Most of the time, people can then, it clicks and understands. So property management as a whole, problem solving. That's all we do. We problem solve.
Now, when we're talking about where things break down and where some property managers may experience difficulty, and maybe why people say, okay, they didn't have a good experience with property management, or why investors say, well, we had to go through multiple property managers. Are there any common issues, or is it so specific to that property, that investor, that it's tough to say?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I'm going to bring it back to educating everyone. Okay. So our investors, your biggest issue that I would say come up in property management is that if you look at across the US, the majority of management companies are your mom and pop shops. Okay. It is the agent that may have 4 or 5 investors with them, and then they manage it for them, right? So if you look at across the US, it's not your big behemoths that are out there. If you think about your behemoths as management companies, they are a very small sliver of the entire pie here. So your everyday, like yourself, your everyday, maybe it's their internal investor. Hey, I'm going to just take this on and do it myself, right? I can save money. And that's what we get a lot of the time. Well, I can save money by doing it, but what are you sacrificing on the other end? So looking at it in scale, right? You have a lot of mom and pop shops. Well, when someone chooses a mom and pop shop, they're choosing the relationship and hoping that they're going to respond when you ask, instead of actually having a professional that is in the space, that is educated in the laws, the reasons behind it, the education, the systems, the processes. So the breakdown that we see, and this is just across everywhere, it's like, well, I can do property management and I can save money by ultimately doing it myself. So anytime you do a deal and you break down a deal, you should always factor in property management. You need to have someone into any kind of deal you're underwriting who is going to manage this property, and you have to bake it in, because if you put your time into there, you've already lost the deal. Your goal and focus on investing, and this is an investing show, right? And you can start by doing it yourself to educate, learn, and understand that it's not fun. And I don't want to take the 2 a.m. phone calls, right? You can go into that, or just know that you need to build it in and you need to find that relationship. So finding a relationship and asking the right questions. How long have you been in business? How many doors do you have under management? I mean, we've built from, in the past 10 years, we're over $1 billion in assets, and we're growing exponentially thereafter. And so, but it's by learning those mistakes, fixing them, making it more efficient, communication, education. So when you're talking and you're interviewing or you're even doing a deal, put in professional in there, because your mom and pop shops, they're there to, hey, I want to make a little bit on the side, or I could do it myself. They're not professionals in it because that's not what they do well at. I hire a tax professional to do my taxes. I hire a plumber to do our plumbing. I hire a property management company to do property management. And so you got to look at it in a little bit of that scope. Anytime I underwrite a deal, I'm not doing it to throw it. I'm going to do it just because I'm a property management team. I'm actually building it in with the exact price structure that it should be built in, because that is how a deal should be done.
I want to pivot back to something you said earlier in the conversation about working with developers who were needing property management, which is the genesis of how you got into the business. I've noticed that there are more developers, whether it's subdivisions or multifamily, who are looking at not doing, I would say, the typical thing, specifically in retail new home sales, which is build the subdivision and sell the homes, but build and hold. So rental communities, which requires massive capital, right? But being able to do that also creates a whole host of other obstacles to overcome, and one of those being property management. Have you seen, as someone in the space, that the demand for property management is increasing, both as we're trying to address a countrywide housing crisis, if you will, but also because investors are maybe more keen on, instead of doing a fix and flip, a fix and hold, or instead of doing building out a subdivision and selling everything off, build out a subdivision and hold on to those homes.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Well, and you're speaking my language because that's who we are. We're build to rent. I would say one of the original build to rent specialists in this kind of idea of what BTR really is. And so our focus is actually developing and designing communities around the ownership for that renter. So ultimately, we are living in a day and age where it's getting almost impossible to own your own home. And
Amen. Yeah.
we're seeing it right now. So, a lot of our thesis and around this is how do we find or develop if you can't own it yourself, and we're creating long-term renters, and that's unfortunately where we're headed. And I don't know where that correction's ever going to happen. There might be, obviously, affordability, and it kind of trickles here and there. But you're finding either institution, family offices, fund, they're all going into this design of build to rent, like you said, communities of rentals. And that then presents another thing. How are you going to manage this in a way that people are going to want to stay long term? Are you designing it in a way where it is their home? They're going to raise their families here. They might be able to graduate, right? Maybe they are renting a home, but it is a home. It's less of an apartment. I truly believe, and this is where I want to see more of our housing come from is, well, if you really want home ownership, well, let's start actually by creating a home for you. And then maybe these institutions, the thought is the institutions give a place where they can buy back that home. So kind of taking a long-term renter, but then getting to the point where they can maybe own that asset. So educating
Yeah.
people in that it's their home. I've got a backyard. I've got a front yard. I'm responsible for this home, and making it so it's not just, well, I'm going to stack as many units as I can on top of each other to get the max amount of NOI I can. Well, how about we do this? Let's partner with cities, develop or communities, and actually build affordable options. One, still investors, but ultimately finding something that is maybe more obtainable on the rents. Maybe it's a safe home, a spot where they actually feel like it's their home. They can raise their family there. So build to rent is coming more and more. We're seeing more and more build to rent options out there. And that's what we specialize in, is that build to rent. What's the community look like? How does it operate? How do people feel when they come home every day? What is the resident experience while they're there? Are they creating a community where they're at? Not just a garden style, hey, I see my neighbors. Hey, um, creating an actual environment where people have a sense of community. They play the same basketball teams. They join together in a community environment. And so that's where build to rent, really, that specialty starts to come in. And that's what we've started to develop over the last 10 years. And so we're getting more into that space, and we help developers, operators, or people that want to be in that space, educate them on what works best, what best works for those communities, and then ultimately help them manage it long term. These are long term assets going forward. So, build to rent is what we do, is what I like to see, and I'm seeing more of the trend move to that. People just don't want to be stacked anymore on multifamily garden style apartments, and so, even in Texas where you're from, right? I've been there. There can be buildings after buildings, like we were in Houston for a long time. It's just apartment buildings everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I just see that more and more people are not going to want to be on top of each other. They're going to want to actually have a home if they're going to have to rent. And so that's what build to rent solves.
It's definitely needed. And, in places like Texas, I know that you're active in Arizona, right? As these are areas where there's ample development opportunity. And so people are looking at, okay, well, how do we meet the needs of, a housing shortage while also being able to have it underwrite, right? And so there is so much that comes into play here. Having an unsuccessful uh, property management team is gonna torpedo the business if you're in the
Your
build to rent space.
your operator is key. If you're looking at the end of the day, the investor still has to make it, right? Because they're the ones putting up the risk and the capital. So no matter how anyone looks at it, a renter's going to rent because they have to rent, but at the flip side, there's an investor at the other end that still has the risk. So what's the risk? And the risk is finding an operator that is going to actually see that NOI or that development be successful. So when we talk to these developers and these groups, it's what's your vision? We need to understand the vision so that we can help get to the end goal of that vision. And so that's where it comes in. A good operator helps and starts from the beginning, helps you design something that's going to last not just 5 years. We're talking, I want to see something 20, 30 years down the line and it's still operating like it should. Instead of just, hey, I'm going to live through a cycle. We got to start design things to what is it going to look like in 20, 30 years, right? Is someone going to really want to live here in the next 20 to 30 years? And is it going to be upkept in that? So
Yeah.
long term is what we look at, what we try to help these developers and institutions and groups look at. And we want to be that operator for them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I want what's best for all sides, right? It's not just one side winning. We all have to win because, again, if you don't have a renter renting, you're not going to get the NOI at the end of the day. So everyone has to be able to work with each other. And so that's where we try to find that fine line in between there is like, okay, a good operator sees both sides and helps move it down that direction of ultimately everyone's winning at the end of the day.
We are coming up on time here, Corey. Where can our audience go if they're interested in reaching out to you or your team?
So I try to do some of these to get out there. We help operators. So the Corey Bohner, you can find me a lot of places. TheCoreyBohner.com talks about what we do, what we help with others. Maxx Property Management, we're in 3 states and we're growing into other states. But ultimately, that's where you can find me. You can find me on all the social platforms. I'm on LinkedIn. It's a great place to connect. And, I try to educate, right? I try to educate in the space, try to educate in investment, try to help people understand what we've learned over the years. And then ultimately, I want people to invest, just like we're talking about here, right? We want people to invest for their futures, whatever it is. Educate yourself, invest, and then build something great.
Corey, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.